Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of our entitled people. In today's episode, entitled boyfriend of housemate thinks he can live in my student home for free and then slander me online when we all ask him to leave. My dad told me I will amount to nothing in my life. Incompetent company boss who got everything handed to him claims he did it all by himself without any help. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Entitled boyfriend of housemate thinks he can live in my student home for free and then slander me online when we all ask him to leave. This is an old one, but I thought might be a good read. When I was a uni student, one of my housemates was dating a guy from her hometown. She invited him to come visit for a couple of weeks, which we were all fine with, but that couple of weeks visit very quickly turned into him moving in and mooching off us. They both informed us he would find a job and pay his fair share. But this didn't happen. He made no effort to find a job. He didn't pay any rent, paid nothing towards the bills, did nothing towards cleaning the house. He just spent all his time taking up our communal area, playing video games and watching TV. In their bedroom they just proceeded to have extremely loud sex that everybody could hear because the walls were too thin. In the end we had enough. It was about 3 months into his squatting that us remaining 3 housemates had a chat about whether this was acceptable. Obviously we were all in agreement that it wasn't, and set up a meeting with the girlfriend and the interloper. It was decided I would be the one to broach the subject and take the lead on the conversation. Informing them both that he had overstayed his welcome and it was time he went home. He argued that he'd been struggling to find a job and that's why he was unable to pay his way, but we all pointed out he hadn't even made any attempts to find a job. Just spending all his time on the sofa playing video games. Eventually his girlfriend agreed that he'd been taking the piss a bit and asked if he wouldn't mind going home. He did, and I thought it was the end of it. Oh, it wasn't. On the day of his moving out he proceeded to post something on Facebook, thanking my other 2 housemates for being welcoming hosts whilst deliberately dragging my ass in the posts. Claiming I was really poor host and was throwing him out for no reason. Of course I wasn't going to stand for that. Calling him out and making it very clear it was a collective house decision and he had been living with us rent-free for several months, which was not acceptable, and pointing out we would have been happy for him to stay if he was paying any contribution to the house, but he wasn't. That ended in him making a groveling apology under my comment, saying he was sorry and he didn't intend for it to come out like that, etc., etc. I didn't accept it because he knew what he was doing and just said he should take the post down because he's made an idiot of himself. He did, but I still made sure my side of the story was out there by making my own post. Anyway, he went home. We got our house back and he didn't visit again. Anytime my housemate and he wanted to see each other, she would go back home. After a few weeks I'd found that he had also set up mobile contracts with his address listed as ours and was not paying them. I gave all the bills to my housemate to give to him. They eventually broke up, but honestly she wasted too much time and energy on the complete waste of space. He was just an entitled user who didn't expect to come up against 3 girls who weren't going to take his crap. He thought you would be a pushover like his girlfriend was. I bet she lost a ton of money on it too. I wouldn't be surprised. He was a proper deadbeat. I only wonder one thing, 3 months? What took you so long? Nobody in my house was good with confrontation and just wanted to keep the peace with the one he was dating. If I hadn't gone to my housemates in the end, he would have taken advantage of us longer. In hindsight, I wish we had tried to get rid of him sooner. Good life lesson. Hindsight is 20/20 for all involved. Good thing you were all in agreement. Surely the roommate/GF has regrets in her mind when she thinks of him. Going forward, all of you were more cautious about anyone staying in your place. My dad told me I will amount to nothing in my life. My dad is elderly, partially disabled as he walks with a cane and has mobility issues, and a narcissist. My mom passed away 2 years ago unexpectedly. She was the single most person I was closest to in my life, and since her passing, difficult has been an understatement. My dad treats me as though I'm disposable. I have helped him in every way possible. Within the last year, I basically temporarily have moved in to help him as he had health issues earlier in the year and was in the hospital several times. He was diagnosed with some level of heart failure and has kidney disease, which was maintainable until this year when it worsened a bit because of the heart issues. I basically became his caretaker and took on this role even against my better judgment of how he has treated me over time. My sister sometimes helps, but not often enough that it makes a difference. She is not working at the moment and my dad gives her money to help her. In a lot of ways he tries to buy her affection because she has taken space from him when he's been disrespectful in the past, so now he tries to do everything to get her on his good side. However, with me, he basically treats me like he can say anything in the world to me. I've tried to set multiple boundaries and it's been very tricky territory. I plan to move out. I've been apartment searching, which has been difficult. However, in the interim, it's made things very difficult because I depend on him financially right now, since I basically put my whole life on hold to be his caretaker. So when he doesn't like a certain thing or being spoken to in a certain way, he basically then threatens not paying me for the following month. For instance, it's almost the end of October, something happened today and he basically said he's not going to pay me November 1st but doesn't want my help. It's become such a toxic situation. Today I came into the room he was in and he had put his cane directly on top of my laptop. I asked him to please not do that. He then gave me immediately a very hard time and told me that I am always harassing him and telling him what to do. He told me my laptop should have not been there because that's always where he puts his cane. I tried to maintain calm, but at the same time I did tell him that it is not harassment to let him know when something isn't right. He doesn't like being told what to do, but at the same time he has done things that are unsafe recently that I've had to tell him. For instance, today he had spilled water on the floor and didn't notice it, I guess, which I almost slipped on it. I told him he has to be mindful around the sink. Also, he will leave his portable heater on even when going out. I told him that he has to turn that off for safety reasons. He told me I am harassing him, that he doesn't want me around, doesn't want me to talk, and doesn't want my help. He told me that he isn't going to give me money on the first of the month, and that he will do everything himself. There have been numerous times where he has threatened me like this before. It's honestly done mental damage on me to have to rely on somebody who can be so verbally abusive. I've been doing everything to try to get out of the situation, and I continue to vigorously. I regret coming to help him because before this, I had my own life and my own finances and apartment. He told me I will amount to nothing in my life, that I'm so irritating to be around and more. It makes me feel incredibly emotional and incredibly alone. I know I should not believe the things he says because he is a narcissist, but sometimes I react to what he says, which I can't do because he typically uses that and says, "See how emotional you're getting." Today I didn't react in an emotional way, but I did tell him this is not okay. He basically kept on and then screamed at me to get out of his face. I'm honestly in a very bad emotional spot right now because of this. He makes me feel like I can't actually rely on him in any capacity, and that he is able to basically flip the switch at any point in time with his emotions. Screw him. Move out, let him be bitter and hateful to others. Don't look back. I give it 3 days tops before he begs her to come back. Stay strong, OP. I'm sorry you have to go through this. Find a friend you can stay with short term while you finish getting your own place, then pack your things and leave. Do this with no warning to your dad and sister so they can't try to guilt you into staying or find some way to keep you there. He doesn't appreciate you and wants you out of his face? As you walk out the door, "Here you go, Dad, my worthless, useless self is out of your face." Good luck getting, sister, to help you even find a semi-decent care facility. That's where you'll end up after all, since she clearly won't come and care for you as I have, and I'm no longer an available option. I'm so sorry. That all sounds incredibly heavy and terrible. Your father is wrong and you've already taken on such a heavy burden. Incompetent company boss who got everything handed to him claims he did it all by himself without any help. This guy is an acquaintance of me. Fortunately, I don't know him very well, but I heard this story several times now, and the truth that people told me about it. By his late 30s, this guy was a regular bank clerk. Then daddy retires and gives him his small company. Around 40 people or so. The guy struggles immensely to keep the company afloat because he was just a regular bank clerk and overall not very bright or talented. After a few years, the company is nearing bankruptcy. During this time, the guy starts a relationship with one of his business partners. The business partner / now boyfriend has a much larger company, and since they are, apparently, in love, offers to help the guy out. So the guy can cut costs by using the storage rooms of his boyfriend's company and some facilities etc. With this help, the company stabilizes for a few years but is still not doing great. Then comes COVID and the state handed out helicopter money in the billions. The company gets a huge financial injection and is doing okay for the next few years. This year, the guy sold the company for several $1 million to someone else and has become a millionaire by the age of 55 and retired. On each occasion, he tells everyone this supposed epic tale how he managed to lead this company and make profit, and how smart and competent and hardworking he was, and that he managed everything on his own. He feels so entitled to his money and success. Yet if one knows the unofficial story, all of this crumbles. Without getting the opportunity to lead daddy's company, this guy would still be a regular bank clerk or unemployed. Without entering a relationship with another business partner that saved him from collapse, his company would have collapsed years ago. Without the money handed out by the state in 20/21, the company would have collapsed years ago, and he certainly would not have been able to sell it for millions. But he did it all by himself without any help. What a joke. This was shown in spades in a social experiment. Several groups of 2 players, children, were sat down to play a game of Monopoly. However, one of each of the pairs started off with more money, rolled extra dice, etc., etc. Almost 100% of the time, the kids with the bonuses ended up winning the game. They were then interviewed about why they won. And all of them, absolutely all of them, claimed they won because they made smarter decisions, or because they were more fiscally responsible, or because they wanted the win more than their opponent. None of them attributed their success to the unfair advantages that had been arbitrarily handed out to them. None of them even recognized that the game had been biased in their favor. For some reason science still struggles to understand, humans always believe it was their own choices that caused them to succeed, even when it is demonstrably not true. Plenty of wealthy aholies have been heard saging things like, "Well, I worked so hard." Yeah, so does the single mom who makes $14 an hour. Makes me irate because they think they have what they have because they worked harder or more than anyone else. Sounds like he didn't grow it at all. He could have sold it in his 30s immediately for those same millions. The COVID bailout let him tread water and, more than that, saved the jobs of the 40 people, not just him. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.